everyone, and welcome back. If you followed our last update, you know that we traveled into Wyoming and we had quite a bit of problem getting in there. We limped in because the turbo hose had come loose on the Ford. But Steve got it fixed, and it is time now to make our way into southern Idaho. Somebody's been living in the tire. Now, our schedule for leaving Idaho got delayed slightly, but we knew we would still get into our planned destination before dark. But as we set out and hit the highway, all those plans went off the rails.
We didn't even make it out of town. The new turbo intercooler coupler hose came off. It did not have the same ridges in it that the original Ford did. It was a Gates part, and it was just, I put it together. I knew that it didn't have this ridge. I tightened the clamps down pretty tight, and it came off anyway before we even got out of town. So we went back to Mike's shop, and we monkeyed with it a little bit more, tried it again, and it still didn't stay. So we came back and we were about ready to glue it onto the steel pipe, and I just said I will use some high-tech gasket adhesive and we'll still make it removable. And that seemed to be fine, and we headed out of town, and all of a sudden we had another sound. And I had taken the turbo pipe off so many times that now the coupler on the other end had been dislodged. I hadn't got it back on correctly, so we were back at the shop again and discovered this was a simple error. And so we fixed the simple error and we got on the road.
Well, now on this journey we are running 6 hours late. We know we'll definitely not get to where we wanted to go before dark. In fact, it'll be quite late before we get anywhere near there. So we opt instead to stop at a Walmart in Evanston, which worked out perfectly and set us up greatly for the next day. The next morning we did a quick grocery run.
And then I decided corruption was the best course, and so we went and had a McDonald's breakfast.
It's good stress food eating. Instead of just heading to the end goal in the camping area, I still wanted to go see the place we were going to camp at the night before. So we made our drive into Woodruff. And Woodruff turned out to be pretty nice, actually.
Yeah,
I think
looked like a good place.
I would head back there again, and you can see what Woodruff looks like. Is all okay?
Okay, look at how muddy you got the Jeep.
I know. I did. It's all my fault. All right, so I'm gonna turn around. We're just gonna go back to where.
Yeah, just back into there and pull forward. That's what I'm gonna do.
So this is the intersection we got turned around on. This is the main road, County Road 101. This is where we thought we were turning. It turned out to be just a dirt track on one side of a fence. But we think Mass was telling us to take that, and that looks even less used. So we are actually just going to go return our trip down 101 back to the main highway. And Jeep just got a bath yesterday. So sad. From Woodruff, we actually head back to the highway. We make our way north a little bit. We pass a nice lake called Bear Lake.
We were only driving down a short, well, it wasn't that short, probably 10 total miles. But we've got lots of interesting mud
Everywhere.
on the exhaust pipe.
No, look behind. It's on both sides.
And on a camper all the way up. And the wheel wells. We got some
You
nice
should go
mud
look
in
under
there.
under that air conditioning.
The key is the step to get into the truck, which I have not been using, but evidently Cheryl has mistakenly used. On the fuel fill, air conditioning. I'm going to look up underneath the air conditioner on the mud flaps underneath. Not bad. So we definitely have some on my electrical bay, but it's not any up on the air conditioner. Mr. Jeep took a little bit. The windshield is pretty nasty. What you doing? Taking pictures? It's my attempt at being funny. You told me I should.
Making our way into camp to an area called Franklin Basin Road.
And it was the Friday before Memorial Day weekend, so Franklin Basin Road was jam-packed.
Very
both
packed.
with people and ATVs and people who just parked their trailers and saved a spot and who knew if they were ever going to come. And the weekend was forecast to be rainy, so we already knew that we needed to get in place. So anyway, we got lucky. Decided some guys right next to us who were tent camping decided that they were going to leave because they didn't want to be there in the rain. So we got lucky, and they had a spot that it was really difficult to get to. Rugged, it was uphill, it was unlevel, but we got up there just fine. Well, we didn't get up there just fine. I hit a rock beside the road and put a dent in. Well, I tore a little corner off of one of my boxes.
This right here is the rock that bit the bag box on the Maximus.
We got up there and we sat there for a couple days, and it rained on us for a couple of days on and off.
Is it chilly out there? Is it wet out there?
Very wet. Very muddy.
Are you wet and cold?
I am freezing.
You should stay there until you warm up, because I don't want you to touch me.
Should warm my hands up. Can you warm my hands up? Don't tell anybody, but this is how we spend a rainy afternoon.
Brownies and ice cream.
And what's on the table there? These
Monopoly card game.
we're 1 for 1, so
One
we're
for
gonna
one.
we're gonna see who's wins next.
Got up there and we sat there for a couple days, and it rained on us for a couple of days on and off, and we had, you know, great view. We had nice birds coming, and we had some nice hikes.
Breathing hard?
the time come to get out of there, it was snowing, literally almost I won't say it's a blinding snowstorm, but it was heavy, wet, large chunks of snow coming down on us.
It started off as just light flurries, which I thought, oh, this is fun. But by the time we drove separately, because we weren't hitched yet, so we drove separately out of the forest to...
And as we got to the road and decided that we were going to down the highway, ready to hook up to the Jeep, I started to hook up the Jeep and discovered that the mounting plate on the underside of the Jeep was missing a 1/2-inch bolt. It has 2 1/2-inch bolts on either side and a 3/8 brace in the middle, and the bolt was completely gone, and there was no way we were going to be towing, so we decided to continue to drive on into Logan separately.
Half-hour drive, I think.
Downhill, very winding road, until our plan was to go to the Home Depot in Logan and repair the Jeep the Jeep hitch so we could hook back up again.
So while Steve took care of that, I was able to take a look at whether going along our route into Idaho, and we had another camp destination picked, which was another reservoir, and I was kind of excited about scoping that whole area out. But it was going to be pouring rain, but we decided to abort camping stop 2 and just make our way all the way to our property. And that's where we ended up.
Parked in the driveway of our property so we could be level. We could have power, we could have a store, we could have all the other things we wanted to while it
We were actually glad to be in Idaho. We knew we had at least a week's worth of work to take care of while we were here and just kind of get situated. The weather warmed up nicely, almost a little too warm, and we just enjoyed our time here, and we were looking forward to planning our next leg of this, which is going to be zigzagging ourselves back to Wyoming and heading up to Montana. So real time, it is June 16th, and it's been a week and a half since we left Idaho, and we discovered that there's another unlucky situation for us.
There's been a lot of flooding in southern Montana. I grew up in southern Montana, and that's where we're headed. And what has happened is the Montana exits from Yellowstone Park into Montana are washed out. My hometown is washed out. The north entrance is washed out. Yeah. And not only that, but I received a video from my brother showing the Rock Creek, which is the creek which flows through town, which for all my life I've never seen it overflow its banks. It was running down the street and washing houses into the stream. It was a combination of rain on snow melt, and it just overwhelmed everybody and everything. And even today, Yellowstone Park is closed, and we're gonna have to drive 360 miles around to get to Red Lodge if we can't drive the 130 miles through Yellowstone to get to Red Lodge.
Yeah. So we're gonna stay here a couple extra days where we're at, and we are actually in the Teton National Forest, and we'll be updating you on how that leg of our trip goes when we get there. So looking back at all the things, we can chuckle, and probably the funniest moment for me is when we turned all the way around off the highway. Steve did some more work under the hood. We headed back to Mike's shop, his brother's shop, and when we got there, we discovered
Now, before we got there, Steve discovered that I saw the back spare tire of the Jeep hanging out, which meant when I'd accessed tools, I left the back of the Jeep open. So we were driving down the freeway with the back of the Jeep up and the spare tire winging in the breeze. And then when we got back to the shop...
And an open tool roll was just sitting out there.
Yeah, the tool roll's open.
And he didn't lose anything.
Didn't lose anything. So, unlucky, but lucky.
Yeah, lucky, I guess, in that regard. And he had to go into the camper, and he left our steps just hanging out. We never drive with those steps just hanging out the camper.
This was a very frazzled time, and I didn't do well in some respects.
You ended up doing very well. You got us back on the road, and that's all that matters, because we've got lots more road tripping to do.
That's all I got to say about that.
Yeah, no more confessions.
All right, bye everybody.